Matt Project 1 video. Watch the other video posted with this for more detail about using Finale. In this video you will see shortcuts appearing on the screen so you can learn them for future use. Things like command plus something to accomplish a particular goal, or shift plus arrow to do something else. So you'll see those shortcuts appearing and remember them for future use to make your use of Finale easy, quick and easy. First thing, do the following to optimize your laptop for entry of notes in Finale. You're going to open up your template. You're going to go to the window menu and make sure that you have the main tool palette and the simple entry palette chosen. You're going to choose a simple entry note, any of them will do, and then you're going to go to the simple entry menu, simple entry options, deselect the first 4 buttons here, click on edit keyboard shortcuts, choose laptop shortcut table. It will probably say default shortcut table, change that to laptop shortcut table, say OK, click out of that. Then system preferences, you choose keyboard, then you make sure that this button is clicked, is checked. Okay, then you click out of there, this top button that is, click out of there. Now your keyboard and your laptop is optimized for use with Finale. Project 1 now. So in Project 1 you have to be able to put your chords up here, voice led. You have to put in a bass line here, and you have to have your drum notation here. When we do drum notation, we are writing more than one part on a single stave. When you do more than one part on a single stave, you need layers, because the program needs to be able to keep the identity of each part clearly represented. So the way we get layers in Finale is we go down to this bottom left corner here. You can see layer 1. And for drum notation, everything played with the feet goes in layer 2, and everything played with the hands goes in layers 1. So we're going to start with the feet. We click on layer 2. And we're going to enter just a quick, simple, generic pop rock beat, which is a quarter note, an eighth note rest, an eighth note, a quarter note, an eighth note rest, and another eighth note. So I have my, this is called the caret, my little cursor caret thing here. And you can see when I move it around, it has different drums. We want the kick drum, so we move it down to the kick drum space. And it's now ready to enter. And if it's the wrong note value, you can choose a different note value here. But now, because you optimized your keyboard, you can actually use the numbers on your keyboard to change the duration. And this is much faster. This means your left hand can be changing the durations as needed. So 3 is a 16th note, 4 is a eighth, 5 is a quarter, 6 is a half, and 7 is a whole note. We're going to be using a quarter note, so I hit 5. It's ready to go. I can either click to enter that or hit enter. Oh, it went onto the wrong line. No problem. I just use my arrows to move it down, select it, and move it down until it's a kick drum. Okay, I want another kick drum. I arrowed over. It's on the wrong line or space, so I just arrow down until it's correct. It's the wrong value. I want an eighth note, so I hit 4 to turn it into an eighth note. I hit enter. I hit enter again for another eighth note. I need another quarter note. Hit 5 for quarter. I need an eighth note. 4 for eighth note. And now I've got the basis of my drum beat. The stems aren't down yet, but they will be once I put in the other layer. I need this note to be a rest, this first eighth note. So I just simply select it by arrowing over to it, and I hit the first letter of the word rest, R, and it turns it into a rest. I need this eighth note to be a rest, so I arrow over to it and I hit R. Now I've got all my note values right. The stems aren't right, but that will be fixed soon. So now I've done my layer 2 stuff. I come down, change back to layer 1, and now it's time for me to enter my hands. Everything played with the hands on the drum set. So let's start with the hi-hat. You go up to the hi-hat line, you try to get it so it says hi-hat closed. If somehow it doesn't say closed, like it says open, you just cursor down and then cursor back up, and arrow down and arrow back up, and you'll get to closed. Then you arrow over, arrow up until it says closed, hit enter repeatedly, and there's your eighth notes. Now we need snare on 2 and 4, find the place for it. It hit a cross stick instead of an open snare. Just arrow down, arrow back up, and you'll get the snare. You need it on beats 2 and 4. There it is. Now we have our complete drum beat. the way you can play that back is either with the playback controls, which open up and give you more detail about tempo and so on here. You can increase or decrease the tempo right with that little window. Like if I slow it down to say 90, that will work great. And you can play back that way. Okay, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is if you turn off the playback controls, you can just simply highlight a measure and do spacebar click. You can also do Option plus spacebar and just play at the speed that your hand moves the cursor along like this. Okay, so we've got our drum beat entered. Now you can use a different drum beat if you want, but it has to be based on eighth notes. You could have a different kick drum pattern. So now it's time to copy that because we're going to use that throughout our piece. So you simply, it's just like a word processor. You do Command plus C for copy, Command plus V for paste. So the ending you need to just put a final kick drum, so just put that in. So now that means that when we get to the end of our piece, we have, I'll start here, we have that final hit that gives us the feeling of the end of the piece right there. Our drum part in. Now we're going to move to our chords, would be a good one to do next. This is time to choose what key you're going to be in. You could choose any of the keys that we had covered so far. So I'm going to do D. You would choose the first measure and do the selection tool, which is here, and then do Control click. It gives you a contextual menu for a lot of cool things, and one of them is key signature, and then choose D major, and that sets up your key signature. Now we're all doing the same chords. We're doing 1, 5, 6 minor, 4. So you would start by entering your chords, and say I did a root position D major chord. I start with a D. Because you've optimized your keyboard, you can use your function keys, that's the keys at the very top of your keyboard, to do intervals. So you know that a root position chord is built up of a root, a third, and a fifth, and those go up in thirds, you know, building the snowman. So you can just hit the function key 3, and that will give you a third above that, and hit it again, it'll give you a third above that, and it gives you your root, third, and fifth really easily. Now if you're new to voice leading, you might want to start with root position chords. So the root position of the 5 chord, A is here, you put that in. Then you've got your root position of your 6 chord, just building the snowman, and then finally the 4 chord in this key is a G, and there you go, you've got your chords. Now that's not good voice leading because this person singing the top part has to then jump way up there and jump all over the place, and also it doesn't sound very smooth. So what we want to do in voice leading is keep common tones. So you can see that there's an A in this chord and there's an A in this chord. So we want to keep this person singing that A. That means these notes need to come down. The quick way to make them come down an octave is to do shift arrow down. All right? And the way to move through a chord is to do command arrow. So I'm able to move through the chord with a command arrow. There's my top note. I need to bring that down an octave, shift arrow. And now I have a nicely voice-led chord. My top voice is staying the same. My middle voice is only having to move down a step, and my lower voice is only having to move down a step. That's good voice leading. Okay, now we have our chords entered. We have a D, we have a B minor, and a G. Time to label them. So we go to the chord tools right here. Click there. Capital D, press enter, move to the next chord, click there. Capital A, press enter. Capital B, and then put a minus symbol because it's minor, and then capital G, and that's your chords. Now you've got your chords entered, they're voice led. Now you can copy them because you're going to repeat them. Click to select all those, and then Command C to copy, put them right here. Now all your chords are entered except for your last chord, which you can grab here, copy, and put it in for your last chord of your project. Alright, now it's time to create a bass line. Now you have 3 options for your bass line. The most basic one, which we've talked about most in class, is root 5th octave with the kick drum and the bass rhythm all linked up. So if we do that, we would start with always with the root. So make sure you're thinking about bass clef and where D is in bass clef. And we'd start with a quarter note. Now we have an option. We could have a short quarter note, or we could have a note that takes up all this time here, which would be a dotted quarter. and then put in our 8th note. What I recommend you do is you put in the rhythm first, all on one line. Here it is. Putting it all on one line, one note. Oops. Now that kind of sounds okay. That's one approach to bass playing, is to just play nothing but the root. But it's also quite common to use alternate notes like fifths and octaves. So we're using roots and fifths. We haven't used any octaves yet, but you could do that too. Do an octave there. It sounds like this. Okay, so that does a good job. Okay, the second option for bass is to do constant eighth notes, but have nothing but eighth notes except all the way through. But then the very last eighth note is going to be an approach tone. An approach tone is a note that resolves by step into a target. So this would be all D, all roots, until the very last note, which would be a step away from your target, which is going to be A. It's all roots, and then an approach note right at the last, on the last eighth note. So this is D, 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 until we have an approach note B going to the A, and then my A here already acts as an approach note to B, but I could also get fancy and make it an A sharp. So we have, so we have a chromatic passing tone. That would be cool. And then over here we have an A leading to the G, and over here we have a C leading to the D back there. Okay, and it sounds like that's bass option number 2. Bass option number 3 is to write a riff, like something like Day Tripper or something like that. And that's where you come up with a rhythm that might actually be independent of the kick drum rhythm. And once you've got the rhythm, you make notes fit together that describe the chord, and maybe have 1 or 2 passing tones to create a riff that describes the chord but also has some interesting other notes and rhythms. So, for example, the best way to write a riff is to think of a rhythm first. So say your rhythm was da 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 da. Then you would figure out what that rhythm is all on one note. So I did that. There's the rhythm all on one note. That's my rhythm. Da 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 da. And then I apply pitches to that. Again, trying to describe the chord. So I start with root, maybe do the root again, and maybe jump this down to a fifth, and then maybe do a little run up, something like that. Or a little run that brings me down to that same concept: root, root, fifth, root, and then a run into the next chord. That's my concept. Maybe something like that. And it's all governed by having a rhythm, and then making sure the last part has a good approach note to your next chord, which is, again, approach note is a note that resolves by step. Okay, those are your 3 bass writing options. And once you've done that, then you can put everything in, and then the only thing left for you to do after that is to handwrite, do a handwritten version to hand in as well. Now for handwriting, it's important to know about certain shortcuts that are allowed. Shortcuts are allowed when you're writing drums. So when you have the same drum beat going for a number of measures on the same line, you don't have to rewrite it handwritten. You can do something called do a repeat sign. The way you do that in Finale is you choose the staff tool, which is right here, and then you want a 1-bar repeat. You just hit the number 1, and that's the 1-bar repeat. And you can do that in drum writing. Now on the next line you have to rewrite your drum part, but then you can use the repeat again there. It will still play back. So that will save you some time when you're handwriting. The bass has to be written out every note because it changes, and the chords have to be written out. But that will save you a little time with your drum writing. And here's our final version. So